الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم إلى يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربي زدني علما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to Point, dear learners. Inshallah, today we will be looking at verses 39 to 41 of Surah Al Imran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمات من الله مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحسورا ونبيا من الصالحين. قال ربي أنى يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر. قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. قال رب اجعل لي آية. قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار. صدق الله العظيم. So we will go into the tafsir of the verses that we've just read now. Before we move into what we are seeing today, what we saw yesterday was that last class we saw Zakaria alayhi salam enters the mihrab or the chamber of his young niece Maryam alayhi salam, and he finds fruits that are completely out of season. Like if we are enjoying mangoes now it's the month of July. If we are to see mangoes in the month of November and December, we will be quite surprised. Fresh mangoes at the season, we would be quite surprised, and it's an out of season fruit. And that's how he saw his young niece enjoying something that was completely unavailable normally at this time of the year. So he questions immediately, from where did you get this food? And she replies, Allah provides for whomever He wills, بِغَيْرِ hisab, without any measure, without any limits. He gives to whom and when and however He pleases. So immediately, now Zakaria alayhi salam was a very old man, gray hair, literally 1 foot in the grave. Immediately, he turns to Allah and he asks him, he has just witnessed Allah's power to give something that we usually commonly do not see it happening. So immediately he turns to Allah and asks him for a child. He is an old man, he does not have a child, and he hopes to have someone who take his legacy of prophethood further. And he immediately asks Allah, even though it looks to the worldly, to what we usually see, something out of the ordinary, something that people will not generally ask. Now, this is a lesson that we learn from the sunnah of the prophets, the way of the prophets. When they see someone gifted with something extraordinary, they do not question Allah or ask, how did this happen? They immediately ask Allah for what they want. Oh Allah, you have given such and such a person, give me as well. This is not wrong. This is not jealousy. Jealousy is if you question, why are you giving this to this person? She does not deserve it. I deserve it more. And that is when we complain or we question Allah, why such a person has been blessed with so and so, then that is jealousy. If we want something, we have all the rights to ask Allah, oh Allah, give me what I long for. You've given them, you have the power to give them, so give it to me. So that should be our attitude. When we see someone having something that we long for, we earn for, we can immediately and we should immediately ask Allah, putting all our trust in Him. So this is when we do this, we acknowledge, as Zakaria alayhi salam did, Allah's power to give everything. So and when we ask for something, we do. What was the word that Zakaria alayhi salam used in the previous verse? Hub milladunka rahma, or give from yourself. Give from yourself. Hub. The word hub means gift. A gift is not something that we earn or we deserve. It is something that is given out of mercy. A salary is something that we deserve. A paycheck is something that we have earned. But children are a gift from Allah. It is a hub from Allah. So Zakaria alayhi salam is asking, oh Allah, gift me with a child. So it is purely from and purely and fully in your hands. None of us deserve that. Having a child or lack of having a child is not because we do not deserve it or we have earned it. It is simply because Allah chose it to give it to us or to refrain it from us. Obviously, Zakaria alayhi salam had been asking for several years for a child. And then seeing Maryam alayhi salam being gifted with something extraordinary, it inspires him to ask again, immediately in that very moment. And another lesson that we learn here, very important lesson, is the amount of time that it takes. Prayers are not always answered immediately. Zakaria alayhi salam had prayed for years. Now we see the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had prayed for several years. Very late in his age, he was gifted a child. And when we compare the duas of Yaqub alayhi salam and the duas of Musa alayhi salam's mother, Yaqub alayhi salam also had lost a child. Musa alayhi salam's mother also had lost a child. But Musa alayhi salam's mother was reunited with Musa alayhi salam within a few hours. She was not even a prophet. But Yaqub alayhi salam grew very old, longing and yearning for his child. And it took a lot of time for his prayer to be answered, even though he was a prophet. So Allah has His own way of answering the time when the right times come. When the right time comes, He will answer. So we should not be unfair to ourselves and question, why is my dua not answered? Do I not deserve it? This is not a fair call to yourself. So Allah decides what to give and when to whom, and we need to adopt that humility. We need to have that understanding that this is how things work. So even though it looks like blind hope, to desire for a child at such an old age, Zakaria alayhi salam asks, and a prophet never really loses hope in Allah. He always believes that Allah can do what looks impossible to man, and so he asks. And then we see the answer for that verse. فَنَادَتْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, then called to him the angels, وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي فِي الْمِحْرَابِ, while he was standing praying in the prayer chambers. So now he has prayed for several years. Now immediately, as soon as he sees Maryam alayhi salam blessed with these fruits, he starts praying. وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ, while he was standing, and he is in the state of qiyam, that is, he is standing in prayer. Okay, while reciting the verses of Allah, praying in the prayer chambers. Fil mihrab. Now this mihrab, he has not left the mihrab of Maryam alayhi salam. He is still in that mihrab. He sees her enjoying, and immediately he offers to prayer. We do not know if it was the prayer time. Immediately he prays to Allah and asks for his desire. Again, another thing that we learn from the prophets, another very important lessons that we are learning through the actions of Zakaria alayhi salam today. Another thing that we learn here is that we ask Allah what we need when we are closest to Him. And when are we closest to Him? At times of prayer. And even in everyday life, when we want to have something our way, we ask that person when we are close to that person. For example, you take a mother and a child. Now the mother has just congratulated the child. Oh, you've done good in your school. You've got good marks. So now the child finds that opportunity. Mother is soft now. She's feeling close to me. Can we go out for an ice cream? Or can you get me this toy? I've been longing for this. So now the boss is good towards the employee and, can you give me a raise? So at times of closeness, at moments of closeness, people ask what they want because there are more chances of their prayers being answered. So Zakaria alayhi salam too does the same thing. And during prayer, either we are reciting while in the state of qiyam, while that is وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ, while he was standing in the state of, as we recite a Fatiha and the surahs from the Qur'an, Allah is speaking to us through His verses. And while we go down to sujood and we ask for prayer, when we ask for something that we are speaking to Allah, we are asking to Surah. Either He is speaking to us or we are speaking to Him. So it is a moment of closeness with Allah. So he immediately asks Allah. Oh Allah, give me a child. In that, Zakaria alayhi salam, it was a natural desire for every man to have a child. And we had seen in the previous verse that he asked for a dhurriyatan tayyibatan, a child pure, to carry forward the legacy. Now that time has come. So the time for his prayer to be answered after several years has come. So the angels enter while he was standing praying in the mihrab. The word here used is malaika. Malaika means angels in plural. And from other sources, we find out that it was Jibril alayhi salam who delivered this good news to um, Zakaria alayhi salam. So Jibril alayhi salam never comes alone. He comes with an entourage of angels. So they all come together and enter the mihrab or the chamber of Maryam alayhi salam. From what it looks like, from what these scholars say, Maryam alayhi salam was completely unaware of what was happening. These angels were visible only to Zakaria alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam was very much in the room, but they were not visible to her. So probably the news was delivered to him in his heart while he was standing. It was not a loud announcement of the news of a child, but it was whispered into his heart. So, and it is very interesting that the number of things that happens in this mihrab. First they find it is an interesting and a miraculous place from what we see, what we read in the Quran. In this mihrab is where you find the fruits. In this mihrab, where the news of Yahya alayhi salam's birth is given. In the mihrab, the birth of Isa alayhi salam, the miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salam is delivered to Maryam just 3 months after this incident. So the child of Zakaria alayhi salam and the child of Maryam alayhi salam, that is Isa alayhi salam, are contemporaries. They live at the same time. So every word in the Quran has a meaning. So we see that this, it has been explicitly mentioned this way. So, and then says Allah, so what do the new angels now? Angels have descended. They're coming towards, they are in front of uh, Zakaria alayhi salam, and they say, Annallaha yubashiruka bi Yahya. Indeed, Allah gives you glad tidings of Yahya. That is the name of the child that you are going to get. Musaddiqan, confirming a word from Allah. See, not only does Allah announce the birth of a child, but Allah also names the child. What an incredible honor that Rabbul Alameen names my child, isn't it? So Allah is honoring Zakaria alayhi salam. Alayhi salam here, first he is congratulating, that is Yubashirka, he gives you good tidings, and then he honors him. Why? Because Zakaria alayhi salam had asked Allah for a child, milladunka, from yourself, give me a child from you. And what kind of a child? Al-dhurriyatan tayyibatan, an offspring that is pure, who will carry on this noble mission of prophethood, who will spread the word of Allah. So he had asked him, so Allah gives him such a child and names him as well. No, we think that the laws of Allah are inviolable. So the laws of nature are inviolable. They are final. They are absolute. It cannot be changed. How can a woman so old and a man so old have a child at this age? But that is not true. If Allah wills, He can make anything happen. So, and we as humans, we are confirmed by the limitations of nature. But what we know, what we are aware of it, but these laws are in fact placed on earth by Allah Himself, and He has all the power to change it. And not only first the news of a child comes down, the name of the child comes down, and then the description of the child also comes down. Musaddikam bi kalimatin min Allah, confirming a word from Allah. So Yahya, so Zakaria alayhi salam is going to have a child named Yahya, and this boy will confirm a word from Allah. So what is it that he is going to confirm? Is he just going to confirm that Allah is God? But it is clearly mentioned a word from Allah. As I told you, in just a few months, in just 3 months, Maryam alayhi salam will be given the news of her conception with Isa alayhi salam without a father. A miraculous conception. It has never happened in history so far. So she will be given that news. And Allah says in the Quran that Isa alayhi salam is the word of Allah. He is the kalimatim min Allah. He is a word of Allah. So Yahya alayhi salam will stand by Isa alayhi salam at all times. Isa alayhi salam at that time when he was living, he did not have a huge following. He was a noble man. He was a prophet from birth. He could recite the Torah as a baby. He called out the corrupt rabbis. He was considered a rebel at that time. He was rebelling against the community, and that was why he was chased and tried to be crucified. And the tragic end, so-called tragic end. So that was the scenario in which he lived. So he faced a lot of troubles all around him. So Yahya alayhi salam was a support to Isa alayhi salam at that time. That group itself was considered as a band of rebels because though they were true believers, in the eyes of the public, the majority of the people, they were rebelling against what the community is used to. So we can confidently say that Yahya alayhi salam was to Isa alayhi salam as Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was to our Prophet. So he confirmed that he is the Prophet, in fact, the Prophet of Allah. He supports him, he stands by him, he is like an assistant to him. But he is also a leader in his own right. Wa Sayyidan, a noble leader. Sayyidan means a noble leader. Wa Hasuran, and chaste. Wa Nabiyan, and prophet from the righteous. So all these description, birth of a child, his name, and that he will stand by Isa alayhi salam. He will confirm the word of Allah and confirm the arrival of the Prophet Isa alayhi salam and the scriptures that are given to him. And he will be a noble leader. Now, who is a Sayyidan? A Sayyidan is a person who is ready to take on a lot of responsibility, bear the brunt for the sake of the people. He's a selfless leader. That is the description of Sayyidan, a noble man, a distinct man, someone who is ready to do service for the cause of the people. So he was a scholar, a faqih, a role model. So Yahya alayhi salam, though a support to Isa alayhi salam, he was a leader in his own right, someone to whom important missions are handed to. Yahya alayhi salam never received revelations. Isa alayhi salam did. So they stood side by side, supporting each other. So Allah declares him a leader and chaste. Hasuran. Hasuran means someone who is chaste and he stays that way. That is not because he is incapable or there is something wrong in him, but simply because he wants to be moved away from worldly desires. So he chooses that way and he exclusively dedicates himself to the mission of Allah. And so he stays that way. So he was a perfect, Yahya alayhi salam was a perfect child. There were no defects in him. And also he was a prophet from the righteous people. Now the Bani Israel themselves had a lineage of prophets, but most of them, the people were not righteous. But Allah clearly says that he was from the righteous group of people. And then what happens? How does Zakaria alayhi salam react? He says, Qala Rabbi, he said, my Lord, Anna yakunu laka ghulam. How can there be for me a son? وَقَدْ بَلَغَنِي الْكِبْرُ, while indeed has reached me old age. وَامْرَأَتِي عَاقِرٌ, and my wife is barren. I am an old man. She is an old woman. How is it possible? Now, this question is not out of disbelief, because a prophet never prays to Allah thinking that Allah is not capable of answering. Then there is no point in that prayer at all. If you don't have belief that Allah is going to answer my prayer, what is the point in praying? So this was not out of disbelief, but this question was out of joy, out of shock, out of surprise. It was an extremely pleasant surprise. He was incredibly overjoyed. And so this was a question of, wow, how? Not how, but it is so beautiful. So beautiful, so taken aback, so dumbstruck by this gift that Allah has given me at such a ripe old age. So he asks Allah, why is it that, how is this, how can sometimes when you score, if a person scores 100 out of 100 in his exams, and he is completely shocked and he looks at how, and really, did I really get 100 marks? Obviously that person has worked for it and he has deserved it, and that's why he's got 100. But still, when he sees that marks, when he sees that score, he says, really? Did I really score so much? It is out of joy. So similarly, out of joy, Zakaria alayhi salam makes such a statement. And then and see, it is interesting how it is the angels who deliver the news to Zakaria alayhi salam. But look, the Zakaria alayhi salam does not talk to the angels. He asks, whom does he talk to? He said, my Lord, Rabbi, ini anna yakunu li ghulam. How can there be for me a child? So Allah talks to me through the angels, but I don't have to talk to Allah through the angels. Allah can hear me anytime, anywhere. I can speak to Allah. I can approach Allah directly. So he directly answers Allah and speaks to Allah. قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. So the angels are replying to me. This is how Allah does. He does whatever He wills and at whatever time He wills. So it is Allah. It is by Allah's will that such a thing has happened. And again, he speaks to Allah. He continues. See, the angels are delivering the news to Zakaria alayhi salam, but Zakaria alayhi salam is talking to Allah. Again, he says, Rabbi, my Lord. He's not addressing the angels at all, even though Jibril alayhi salam is also there. He directly speaks to Allah and says, my Lord, Rabbi ja'alli ayah, make for me a sign. Provide some sign for me. You tell me that I'm going to have a child at this old age. When? Now, tomorrow, next month, next year? When is this going to provide for me a sign? And so that I can be aware of when this miracle or when this event is going to happen to. And so what does Allah say? Allah replies, He said, Qala ayatuka, your sign is that Allah tukalliman nasu, that not you will speak to the people, thalatha ayyam, for 3 days, illa rams. So you will not speak to the people for 3 days except with gestures. Now in the olden days, fasting also included not eating, drinking, and not speaking as well. But this does not come fall into this category. And then see how Allah follows it. وَذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ, and remember your Lord kathira much. وَسَبِّحْ بِالْعَشِيِّ وَالْإِبْكَارِ, and glorify Him in the evening and the morning. So your sign is that you will not speak to Allah. You will not speak to Allah, but you will be able to glorify Allah by night and day. Sabbih, glorify, declare, praise Allah in the morning and in the evening, in the night and by day. So your sign is that Allah will remove the ability for you to speak to people. You will not be able to speak, and that is why we find Zakaria alayhi salam writing down the name of Yahya alayhi salam and showing it to the people and telling them that this is we will receive, I will have a son by this name. So he's not able to declare, but when he is alone in solitude, he is able to glorify Allah openly. So it is this was the miraculous sign which Allah provided to Zakaria alayhi salam to show that this miracle of a child is going to actually happen. So we see that so here now, if we look at the story of Zakaria alayhi salam in the Bible, it is there in the Bible as well, the story of Zakaria alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, their birth, etc. But we need to compare, if we compare the biblical version with the Quranic version, and then we will really know how the Quran increases, dignifies the prophets. According to the Bible, God punished Zakaria because he questioned him. How is this possible? But here, what does the Quran say? Allah rewarded Zakaria alayhi salam, and the sign to make him believe that this is actually going to happen. So there was no question of punishment here. So Allah elevates the status of Zakaria alayhi salam. He was out of joy. He asked me how this is possible, and I showed him, and I made him believe in it with a sign. It is not befitting for a prophet to question Allah and for him to be disgraced, isn't it? So Allah raises the image, and we see that this happens with several other prophets as well. And again, in the Bible, not having a child is considered as a disgrace, is mentioned as a disgrace. But here we see that it is clearly up to Allah. Allah gives one or two, or He gives no children at all, or it could be a girl or a boy or a mixture of both children. No, it is completely up to Allah. It is a gift from Allah. It is not something that we deserve or we earn. It is entirely from Allah. So we see that our Rabb gives and takes whenever He pleases. Now the word Rabb itself means, Rabb itself, and the word Rabb has been used in the 40th and the 41st ayah here. Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyiba, Rabbi ij'alni ayah. So Zakaria alayhi salam uses the word Rabb itself means someone who has absolute authority, ultimate authority to give and to take. And then that was the case when we see as we proceed further in the verses. No, Yahya alayhi salam was martyred. Now, the name of Yahya alayhi salam, I forgot to mention here. The name of Yahya alayhi salam itself is very interesting. And Allah says that indeed Allah gives you glad tidings of Yahya. And in the another verse, we see that this name has not been given to anyone before. Just a few verses before, we will see that Maryam alayhi salam was given, the birth of Maryam alayhi salam was mentioned, and their parents named her Maryam. But here Allah names him Yahya. Yahya means timid, shy, modest, chaste. Surprisingly, the Arabic and the Hebrew translations both mean the same thing. It is very rarely that they coincide, but here they coincide. And also, Yahya means someone who is alive. We see that Yahya alayhi salam was martyred at a very young age. As a young man, he was martyred, and and we all know that martyrs never die. Allah says, "Bal ahyakum," they are alive near their Lord, well provided, circulating the arsh of Allah. So they never die. So in both cases, he lives up to both these meanings. That he is a very noble, distinct, a man of distinction, and a man who is alive. And from other accounts, we find out that he was killed by a dancing girl at the bequest of a dancing girl by the king at that time. He died a very young man. And now the question arises, why does Allah give so much information about the birth of Isa alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, while even our prophet's birth, the precursor to their birth, the birth of our prophet also, we don't see much, isn't it? But why is it that so much information has been provided about Yahya alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam were contemporaries, they lived at the same time. Yahya alayhi salam's birth was accepted as normal. Even though he was born to very old parents, it was accepted. But Isa alayhi salam's birth, it was miraculous. Yes, of course it was. And he was made into he was made as God. People believe that he is God or son of God. But even though both these births were miraculous and both these births happened at the same time, and side by side, one person was given a higher position. And we all see the massive following that Isa alayhi salam has now. And for us to get Muslims, as Islam spreads, they will be traveling all around the world. They will be confronting Christians. They will be delivering the message of Islam. So they need to know the clear picture about how Isa alayhi salam came, what happened to him, the news of his birth from Allah himself. So Allah gives a complete description of Isa alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, their birth, and to inform them so that they could be prepared. So all those false beliefs that were misleading beliefs, concepts that were there in the biblical version in the Torah are deconstructed in the Quran. Like the birth of Yahya alayhi salam and how Zakaria alayhi salam was not punished, but he was gifted. Isa alayhi salam was not the son of God, but he was the child of Maryam alayhi salam. So several other beliefs like this are reconstructed in these verses and in the Quran, all through the Quran. About several prophets, we see that they are made clear to us. So there are several lessons that we have learned today, very important lessons. The first lesson is that when we see others gifted, it is okay to ask the same thing for ourselves. This is not jealousy. This is not wrong. Oh Allah, you have gifted them, give to me as well. This was the way of the prophets, and we can do the same thing as well. And when we ask Allah, we should not be in a hurry for our prayers to be answered. We see several years even prophets had to wait for their prayers to be answered. So there is wisdom and there is hikmah. So when we are closest to Allah at times of prayer, at the times of salah, we need to ask Allah. This is another lesson that we learn here. That's how Zakaria alayhi salam asked, and he was answered during the prayer itself. Yusalli is not just praying to Allah; it also means connecting to Allah. So that is another lesson and another thing we learned in today's class is that the laws of nature we think are fixed, they are absolute, they are final, but it is completely in the hands of Allah. He has power to change whatever He wills and whenever He wills, and make the um, world act or perform in a way according to His desires. Inshallah, to this we will conclude today's session. You can post your questions regarding today.